If you've been following my channel for the past 2 or 3 years, you will probably be familiar with my small balcony garden tours that I do every single summer, and a couple of the videos that I've done about container gardening and gardening for small spaces. Well, guess what? It's that time of year again, and I have planted out all of the balconies I'm going to be planting this summer, so I thought I'd show you around. It's early June, and I love to do these videos and compare how the balcony garden looks now versus how it's going to look, you know, in August and September. Nowadays, so many people are really into homesteading and buying big pieces of land and moving outside of the city and, you know, kind of being like a little house on the prairie sort of lifestyle, which is, you know, quite nice. Like, I'm not opposed to that at all, but it's just not where I am in life. And so I live in a city, and this is really how I bring gardening and nature into my life in the city. If we love flowers and gardening, but you know, we live in a city or the suburbs or a condo or apartment or whatever, sometimes social media can like make us feel bad that we don't have 20 acres of, you know, green rolling pastures to garden on. But I've found that it's actually quite a lot of fun to garden in small spaces and in containers because it allows you to get really creative, and quite honestly, I think you can grow some really different things that you wouldn't be able to grow otherwise. Case in point, I actually have a little space where I grow plants outside. It's just a tiny space, like a few feet wide, along the sidewalk where you enter into where I live. And I have been able to plant a few things and some perennials and things over the years. And this is a good thing, but the perennials have gotten so big that just a few plants have kind of taken over and, you know, drowned out the rest of the things. And with containers, the benefit to that is sometimes you can have more space and you can experiment with different types of plants that wouldn't necessarily do well in the ground. So we are starting in my kitchen garden, or at least this is what I'm calling it, because this is the balcony that has a lot of herbs and tomatoes and yummy edible things. As you'll see, I actually have 2 green stalks, so I love these planters for growing things in small spaces. They're just absolutely incredibly useful. Here I have a basket of flowers hanging on the railing. I have coleus, and this is actually a type of geranium. This is a colocasia mojito, and I absolutely love it. It's an aroid, which means it's a relative of the philodendrons and other popular indoor plants, and I absolutely love the dark green kind of variegation on it. So back to the green stalks. This is one I filled with flowers, actually. These are nasturtiums. I also have a potted oak on top of that one. This is a potted rose, and then I have a tomato coming up there, and another tomato here. This is actually a Napa Chardonnay tomato, which is one of my favorite kinds. Over here, I have a possibly dead hydrangea. I really hope it comes back. Just in case it doesn't, I do have a few sweet pea seeds in there. And in the light green stalk, which is a 3-tier green stalk, I have coleus, as well as those nasturtiums I talked about. And then this is actually the leaf green stalk. And as you can see here, I planted it up with marigolds. That's holy basil. I have mint. I have some strawberries. A couple of different kinds of strawberries, actually. I put in some different kinds of lettuce. These are beautiful pink blooming strawberries, and then these are a different kind of ever-bearing strawberry. This is a type of herb that apparently goes in salads and tastes like cucumbers, and I have a lot of mint coming. All right, let's go to my favorite balcony of the year. So I set up this balcony as kind of a Mediterranean theme. It's really inspired by the gardens I saw in Morocco. And by inspired, I mean, I tried to put a lot of plants that are very Mediterranean and are plants that I saw actually growing in Morocco. So in this little raised bed, I have two different types of lavender and some violas, which I put in for early spring color. I also have rosemary in there, which is incredible. It loves the conditions up here. It loves the dry, kind of hot area, which this is a south-facing balcony, so it gets a lot of heat. Very windy day. All right, so these are some garden peas that I have in the corner here. And then this is my favorite corner ever, which is a corner of roses. So these are roses that should bloom all summer, although they're going to do the best starting later in June and into July. They are just doing so great. I'm so happy. Roses are surprisingly easy to grow in containers. I do purchase them when they're about 5 inches tall. So they haven't been grafted onto like a thicker stalk. Instead, I purchase young plants. They kind of grow into their containers. In here, I have sweet peas to eat, and also I have some blue butterfly peas, which are new this year. I'm trying them. They haven't taken off yet. They're still quite small because it's been cold. On the baskets, I have ivy geranium, which remind me of a trip I took to Paris a few years ago because our hotel had the ivy geranium hanging on them. I also have a jasmine plant, which is what I saw all over Morocco. Needs to be potted up in some soil there. And then I have a bird of paradise plant, which is not a Mediterranean plant. That was indoors all winter, and I just transferred it outside. This is a Meyer lemon tree that was also inside all winter and has been transferred outside. And I'm trying to put some Hoyas, which are indoor houseplants where I live. I'm trying to see if they'll live on my balcony. I really like this kind of Moroccan looking mosaic table I found on Amazon. And then I have a scented geranium and a patchouli plant. If you're interested in a little bit of advice or just a little bit more information about how I do my balcony garden, I have done a couple of videos about herbs and flowers that I grow in containers, and I also did a video just last year, towards the end of the year, about how I grow tomatoes in containers. So I have a lot more information in those videos if you want to take a look at them. So let's go to my third and final balcony. Now this balcony was supposed to be just these two raised beds that you can see on either end, and you can see how that didn't work out so well. I went a little overboard. Actually, a lot of these little pots that you're seeing on the ground, they are indoor plants that I am trying and seeing if they will grow well outside all summer, and most of them are Hoyas if you're familiar with indoor plants. I also have a couple of containers of tomatoes because I always start way too many tomato plants and I hate to destroy them. This raised bed, if you remember from other years, my balcony garden tours, I fill with some herbs, so I have thyme. These balconies are very much in the intense afternoon sun and heat, so I have to choose herbs wisely. I have thyme, oregano. I'm also trying some a few new herbs, which are just coming up in there. Then in this main garden bed, I have a phlox, which is in bloom. It's beautiful, blooms early to mid-June. And then I have this massive currant bush, and as you can see, the currants are coming along. This is the first year I've gotten currants off of this bush. I planted it 3 years ago, and it is big. I don't think anyone would recommend planting a currant in a container, but I've done it. I hope this has offered you a little bit of inspiration. Let me know if you also garden in an urban environment or on a balcony or in a small space, because I'd love to hear about what you're doing and if you have any tips or advice. So I will be making more of these videos this summer. Be sure to check back, and like I said, you know, check out a few of the other videos I've done in recent years on my small gardens. I will say that my balcony garden is very different every single year. I never know how it's going to look. It's part of the fun. So I'm sure that, you know, last year's videos are going to be different than this year's videos, because yeah, it's just different every year. Okay, well, if you are in the Northern Hemisphere, I hope you are enjoying the beginning of summer, and I will see you again soon.